All right, welcome back to the Fogdog and Basten podcast. I'm joined by my former teammate at Drake, Isaac Basten. It's been a long time, probably 6-7 months, something in that range since we last recorded an episode, but we kind of thought it was about time to ramp things back up. We've got a lot to catch up on. It's been a little while, and indoor track season is just kind of getting underway. Isaac, you've opened up your season with an 800 last weekend. I'd say it went reasonably well. Your first 800 in a long time. How have you been going? How was it?
I've been doing really well, thanks. Yeah, it has been such a long time since we've last recorded. So much has really happened, like in both of our running careers, really. But I had a pretty average day in the 800. I hadn't raced one in 5 years, so it was kind of interesting just to like get used to the 800, get used to that pace again. But all in all, it was a pretty average day. Pretty disappointed with the time and pretty disappointed to lose. But I mean, I'm trying one again this next weekend, and yeah, we'll touch on it a bit later. But first, let's take you guys back in time, back 6 months ago, and talk about Adam, your appendix, your recovery, and then kind of your transition from there. So, first of all, like, what is it like coming back from an appendicitis? I feel like you came back so fast, and there was a few strings of bad races in there, and then you just all of a sudden really broke out. Like, all you just randomly PR'd, and I was like, wait, how is this even possible? I kind of thought I was reading a typo when I first saw the results. It's just absolutely nuts how fast you came back from it. So
Yeah.
tell us all about that transition, that journey, and kind of where you're at now.
Yeah. It. I mean, obviously, it kind of came at a really pretty bad time. It was my final season at Drake. Had a pretty rough, I would say, end to the indoor season. Getting ill right before nationals, but that's one of those things. Can't really do anything about that. And then the appendix, like towards like the end of the outdoor season, I guess conference was like 2 weeks away, and then regionals would have been a couple of weeks after that, with nationals a couple of weeks after that. I felt like I was in decent shape, and then just got ill with it. To be honest, the last episode we filmed, I had already had my appendix out, but I was still kind of on the slow comeback. So, um, yeah, it was definitely rough trying to come back from that. There was a few weeks of just like being pretty lazy. I wasn't really allowed to do anything. Um, and then I went back to England about 3 or 4 weeks after having my appendix out. And I raced another couple of weeks after that. So it was 6 weeks post appendix. I ran my first 1500 back. I thought I was getting into like pretty decent shape. Like I was running some all right, kind of 3, 4, 500 meter reps in training. And I thought things were going decently, and then I ran a 1500 just to kind of see what shape I was in, because I really wanted to race at British Champs. And I just got absolutely smacked. I ran 3:48. I was getting passed by so many people in the last 200, and there was just nothing I could do about it. And I finished that race like I've got a long way to go. And after that, British Champs were a week and a half after. I think they were 9 days after that. And I thought briefly about pulling out, but then I just thought, what have I got to lose? Like, I'm coming back from having my appendix out. I might as well just give it a go and see where I'm at.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that came round. I ran at British Champs. I ran 350 in a more tactical race. So 350 for the 1500. It was a slower race, so I was actually kind of happier with it, but didn't make the final. And then, yeah, honestly, long story short, I then went off to Europe. I signed with Under Armour in this time, in that kind of period. Signed with Under Armour, went off to Europe, did a couple of weeks at altitude with a few guys from Australia, Olympian and 333 guy, Jai Edwards, Rory Hunter, who's from Australia, 336, and then Jai Perrott, who's run 145 for the 800. So a few really good guys who I was training with. Couple of weeks in the mountains of Italy, and then came down, raced in Germany and ran 337. So that was 5 weeks after the 348. so turned it around reasonably well. And yeah, ran a PB. The
Actually
rest,
ran 13 seconds quicker.
yeah, 11 seconds, but still, like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess 13 quicker than British champs. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
That's ridiculous.
kind of wild. Like, but I think honestly, I think it was just like coming back from the appendix. That 3:48, it was like I was probably in better shape than that, but my body was just like not used to
Yeah.
running hard. And then the next few weeks, it kind of got more used to the training again. And I don't know, I guess like the muscle memory or whatever came back. And I was able to like finish the season reasonably well. I then ran one more race in Luxembourg, ran 3:38, and then came back over to America and ran 2 mile races. I ran 3:57 and then 3:59 and called it a season. And then yeah, kind of since then, that was late August, kind of start of September. Since then, really, it's just been full kind of training. We did 6 weeks in Flagstaff at altitude. Just been kind of training through now. So looking forward to opening up my indoor season. I'll touch a little bit more on that in a few minutes, but yeah, it's been a while. So how have you been going? You obviously had a big cross country season, qualified for nationals again. How was it?
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it's cross country, right? Like I always kind of come into cross country season with tapered expectations because you have guys like, I don't know, Nico Young, Kai Robinson, like I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, the
guy that
list.
just won, like all of them. They all run like 120 miles a week and they're just doing such big base phases. And I'm out here doing my 90 miles a week and still doing speed. So
Yeah,
take it
yeah,
with a grain of salt. Like I'm just really glad I can continue to like make nationals and show like some sort of consistency,
yeah,
which is great. Like going into the season, I obviously just wanted to keep the conference title for Drake, or at least like because last year we jogged it in together, but to get it for myself this time, I was like, all right, like that'd be great. Just back to back would be cool.
yeah.
And then just like try to qualify for NCAAs again. And I did both of those things. And then going into NCAAs, like I obviously knew I didn't really have a chance to win, but I was kind of hoping for like, I don't know, like top 100 or something. So like not completely embarrass myself, but and I'm not gonna say I did like completely embarrass myself, but it was
What do you
definitely a little bit embarrassing coming in
90 something?
like 190 something.
That
Yeah.
course is absolutely brutal. But then, I mean, 250 odd guys, like everyone there is just so strong.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable how strong the NCAA is now. Do you feel like there was a big change from last year? You know, with Jay obviously becoming head coach at Drake. Anyone listening, Jay Colaseus, head coach at Drake now. He was still kind of well, he was head distance coach before, but now he's kind of stepped up, taken on the head coach role overall. In terms of like training, was everything kind of kept the same as what we were doing in fall of 2021?
Yeah, everything was reasonably kept the same. I think a little bit more like strength and tempo work. We went out to like one of the river like where there's a lot of hills and stuff and did those more often. Or I should say the water tower area. God, I don't know what any of our routes are called. I've been here for 4 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went there more often, just like did a lot more hills and like a lot more tempo and threshold work. But really it was kind of kept the same. And like I did a lot of speed work too, like casually during the cross country season. Like so there'd be some workouts where like most people would just go do cross country work, but me and like Seth would get Seth's an 800 runner in our team. We would go do some speed and some strength and stuff like that. But so yeah, not like completely training for cross country during cross country, which sounds odd, but I mean, it's my second best sport. So
Yeah. No, 100%. Speaking of Seth, just quickly touching on it. Obviously, every year people come and go. Obviously, I left among a few others last year. Quite a few new boys and girls on the team. How did everyone kind of settle in? Everyone, kind of getting on well, and team environment still kind of similar. Yeah, how was it kind of losing the seniors and then getting in a load of new freshmen? Have you kind of whipped them into shape?
Yeah, it's always the same. Our freshman class this year is really gifted. Like we have the young Aiden Ramsey who's racing this week, trying to break like 4:05 in the mile, hopefully. And then we got guys like we have a guy from Spain, Juan, who's with instant score on our cross country team, kind of came out of nowhere, and he's trying to break like 8:20 in the 3K this weekend. So like some quality freshmen, but you know how it is. Like these guys kind of just like burn out at the end of cross country. Like at conference, we were just a little bit past their peak taper wise. It's a long season. Like cross country is a long season for
Yeah.
these first year guys, and by the end they start to burn out. But it overall went really well. I mean, they did more than any of us are really expecting them to do. But Seth is kind of since you've left, Seth and Nate Osterstock and Seth Simonson combined have kind of, I mean, nobody can replace you, but they've kind of like helped do it because Nate's been pushing me during like the longer stuff, like 5Ks, tempos work. Like Nate's super solid training partner in that way, and then Seth can sprint like crazy. So when it comes to the sprint work and stuff, Seth can stay with me. So that's kind of
Unlike me, uh, especially on our indoor track, anytime we try and rip a few, I don't know, 200 or 300s, you just something in your arms, and I'd be way back. But no, that's
maybe
good.
it's all the tattoos. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's good to hear though. And with conference, Drake ended up second to Bradley.
Yeah, we lost by literally 2 points. I think it was
Yeah,
either 2 or 4.
um,
Ridiculous.
yeah,
Um,
it's tough
so,
because I don't know. I feel like the Drake runners are more talented. Honestly, I feel like Bradley just have the age. I feel like they've got like 5 guys who have been at Bradley for about 8 years now. So it's bound to come to an end, and hopefully Drake can take back that conference cross country team title in hopefully next season. But we'll have to wait and see what
yeah,
happens. That might have a lot to do with you and where you end up in a year. So also
we'll
just
see.
yeah, had to. I kind of forgot to touch on it, but you at the end of last outdoor obviously made the outdoor NCAA final again, an absolutely stacked field. Yeah, the NCAA, you're always going to get that now, I guess. But then after that, you went on to run at the US World Champs trials. Talk us through that. Pretty huge run in your heat. I think you turned a few heads there.
Yeah, honestly, like is I was just so inconsistent at the end of last year. It was so annoying. Like for during regionals, I felt like I was the fittest I've ever been, and honestly, I raced both those races tactically like absolute dog crap, like putting myself in terrible positions constantly, having to move up late in races and close in like 52 just to get myself into fourth place to make it to nationals. And then, I mean, I did it again. I did make it to into the NCAA final with racing a little bit better tactically, actually finding a lane on the inside. I mean, we're 6 months after, and I can still just remember the race in my head. It's crazy how that works. But um, in the final, I overcompensated for indoor. Like going into the indoor final, or reflecting on the indoor final, I never made a move. Like I just sat there the whole race, didn't move, and finished the race with full energy. And I was like, well, that was the biggest waste of the final ever. Like I got fifth in a race that I probably could have won if I would have just not been an idiot. And so I tried to change that. I moved with like 450, 500 to go. And it was just 200 meters too early. Like
Yeah,
as soon as my move was over, I was already getting passed by Wascom on the shoulder and Mario. And I was like, well, I'm literally dead and there's 200 meters left and these guys can sprint too. And yeah, it just did not pan out. Got swallowed up by the whole field. And then going into USA's the next weekend, I was like, all right, like these guys are probably a little better than me and I'm a little bit past my taper. So I'm just going to sit on the back like I frequently do in races and just kind of hope they carry me through. And a lane opened up with like 200 meters to go and on the inside again. I don't know why people keep giving me the inside. It's so
yeah,
nice,
yeah,
but I'll take it every time. Yeah, so I made a move on the inside with like 200 to go and won the heat, got to the US final and my legs were just complete jello at this
yeah.
point. Like
Uh-huh.
they were jello in the first round at regional or at USA's. I just had a really good day and got a little bit lucky, but
Yeah.
I was definitely past my peak there and
Mm.
Jay just told me he literally said, "Hey, if you beat Yard and Goose today, you're going to be in the top 3, make the U.S. team. I beat Yard Naguse and I got second last. So
Yeah, crazy.
sometimes Jay's a little bit wrong about his predictions, but
I mean, it goes to show though, he's yards run 333. I think like it just
yeah,
kind of on any given day, like
yeah,
anything.
literally an Olympian.
Yeah, made
Yeah,
the Olympics in
like
2021. It just it goes to show anything can happen. But I think that heat of yours at USA's was pretty mad. Johnny Gregorek was in there. He's run 349 for the mile, I think. Like,
yeah.
oh, I mean, I can't actually remember because it's
Jonathan Davis was in it too,
oh
who's
yeah,
incredible. Like Hobbs Kessler, who's like the young
yep,
star. He's
yep.
running pretty well. He was in my heat. And Tinman guy. Why can't I think of his
Drew Hunter.
yeah, yep, Drew Hunter. Yeah.
Oh
I don't know why I
wow,
was blanking on his name, but yeah, he was in my heat too. A
quite a
lot of
few.
like a lot of like guys that have run the standard, but guys that like I mean, running's just a sport where it's so hard to be consistent. So like we're all just kind of up and down all the time. And like
Yeah.
guys that honestly like if we race that prelim 10 times, like there might be a different winner every single time. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
100%.
the way
So
it goes.
yeah,
But yeah.
no, that's
So
pretty.
while all this was happening, while I was running these US trials and the US finals, you were kind of coming back and then starting your races in Europe. Obviously, you touched on that a little bit, but then like when you signed into Under Armour and then when your season kind of officially ended, because I guess that was like when you started doing your Under Armour training, like what changes did you notice right away going from training with me and training with Jay every day to training with a professional group, training with, I don't know, 336 guys, right? Like with Casey and
Yeah,
just all these guys in your team. What's the training like?
yeah. So on the team when I signed, Casey, Coma, John Renowicki, and Willie Fink were kind of like the main 3. We've now signed another couple of guys, and a couple of girls have signed as well with the group. And really, like I feel like running overall is quite a simple sport. You know, like not a whole lot is going to change. Really dramatically from college going into the pro scene. The main thing was like after finishing the kind of racing season, coming back from the appendix and then racing that couple of times in America, we kind of took a couple of weeks of just like chill out time. Went out a bit, like had our fun, kind of just relaxed for a bit. That was for I probably only had about a week fully off. And then it was kind of easing back into like easy running. And the thing with the pro scene is that everything is so delayed. So there isn't anywhere near as much of a focus on being ready for cross country really at all. But then also indoor and outdoor, it's kind of like pushed back a little bit. So at Drake, I feel like from, even late summer, July, August, and then in the early fall, we were kind of like getting into some quick mile reps, like a lot of volume, but getting into some quicker stuff. Like I remember at the start of fall 2021 in college, we like ripped 7 by a mile on the track. And I would say one of the biggest differences with joining the team with Under Armour is like it was a very steady build up. We were quite careful through kind of September and October, kind of steadily building up. Getting the volume up, not to anything ridiculous. I've kind of maxed out at about 85 miles a week. But a lot more kind of longer tempo work and like I don't know, we've eased our way into double threshold days, a bit more work in the gym. And yeah, I feel like it's been working pretty well. Like I feel like I'm pretty strong right now, but we haven't touched too much yet on a whole lot of like fast track work. So I'm opening up with a 3K indoor in a week and a half. We've done a couple of like faster track sessions, but I think that is one of the kind of key differences between being in college and now being on the pro level. Other than not having to worry about schoolwork, not that I really ever did anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
is kind of everything's just kind of pushed back a little bit. So I would say it's been working really well though. Like I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. Yeah, we'll just kind of have to see how the next few weeks go, and I'm looking forward to racing indoor. I think hopefully it'll be good and fast. Yeah.
take us through a double threshold day because I know you kind of just casually skipped over it, but I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people probably have no idea what that is, and like, isn't that the Jakob Ingebrigtsen training plan? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't really know, but yeah,
yeah.
take us.
So they're becoming kind of more and more popular. And I don't know. Before joining this group, the guys in this team had never done them, and Corey, our coach, had never coached them. And I'd never done them personally either. But double threshold is kind of like a way of getting in a massive load of volume in the morning and the afternoon on one day. Um, every week, or we've been doing like 9 day cycles. So it's kind of like every 9 days we'll do a big double threshold day where the total volume ends up being like 18 to 20 miles, including warm up and warm down. But 10 to 12 miles of that is kind of at like 450 to 5 minute miling. So as an example, the other day I did 4x2K at 455 ish average the other morning. And then in the afternoon, we did 10x1K at 255 on the track. So it's kind of like that's 18K volume, just over 11 miles. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's just, we'll kind of have to wait and see how I actually go getting into races, but it's just a lot of volume kind of running at kind of threshold pace. So with that, hopefully it should get you super, super fit and strong. And kind of cramming it all into one day means that then the next couple of days you can kind of really chill out and run super easy. And yeah, so that's kind of the basis of it. We'll have to wait and see how the indoor season goes, but I know that running like 5 minute mile pace is feeling pretty good right now. Not that if I run a 5 minute mile pace for a 3K, I'll be doing anything special, but I think, yeah, there's a lot of benefit in feeling fit and strong from doing lots of threshold work that is slower than race pace. So yeah, we're about to lose our Zoom, so we'll have to
Yeah,
log back in and
perfect.
keep it going. But
Yeah, sounds good.
all right, we're back. Zoom has a 40-minute time limit, so we just got kicked out for a minute, but we are back. So we've kind of touched on most of the things we planned on covering. Kind of, yeah, my transition into the pro life. But kind of one of the big things that's kind of happening right now is the start of the NCAA indoor season. We know that last year, 2022, was absolutely hectic. A lot of very fast times. Basten, you've already opened up with an 800, 150, and second place to an NCAA D2 champion. I think he's multiple time champion, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wes
Yep.
Ferguson. So really, really great runner. Kind of talk us through that a little bit more and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, he's a great runner, so I did take the L to him, but obviously that's still not a race that I want to be losing, and a little bit disappointed about it. But going into that 800, I kind of just wanted to start the season off with a sub 150 and just kind of, I don't know, take that weight off my back, I guess. And I didn't do that. And part of it's just because of honestly just a huge lack of execution on my end. Like I planned on beforehand to go out in like 53 through 400, and I went out in 56 high. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what my brain was thinking. Oh, well, actually, I do know what I was thinking. I was really nervous going into it just because it was the first race of the year. And so then I kind of just went to muscle memory, and my muscle memory is my mile pace. So
Mm-hmm.
first lap, I went out in 29. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's not setting me up real well, is it? And honestly, like it's just super annoying because you know that feeling where you're sprinting in the home straight with like 100 meters to go, and you're like, man, like I don't have enough real estate to catch this guy, but I literally like there's nothing I can do because
Yeah.
I wasn't even able to try as hard as I could in this race
Yeah.
because I ran it like such an absolute clown. Like Oh,
Yeah.
it's just super frustrating. But
The good thing is
that's
that, like,
definitely something.
yeah, I mean, obviously the
Yes.
800 isn't your main event and it's your first one in a while. 150, like, you can run faster, and I feel like that's a pretty good spot to be in. As it not being your main event, with like all of the things didn't go perfectly your way. It's not a bad spot to be in with the next few weeks of training, and then the chance to race it again before you try and rip a fast mile as well.
Yep. Yeah. It's not a terrible spot to be in, but next weekend I'm definitely gonna. I just have to like make that decision that hey, like I'm not gonna go out at mile pace. I'm gonna hammer it from the start, and if I die, I die. I think a little bit is just fear too, because like I've never went out in a race like at 52 or 53 before, so
Yeah.
like you just don't really know how your body's gonna respond, and it's kind of
Yeah.
scary to think about that. But I mean, we're gonna have to give it a whirl if we're ever gonna run a fast 800. So
Definitely,
let's
it'll
see what
be, yeah, I'm sure it'll be a bit of a kind of shock to the system, but you're one of those runners who can kind of turn it on and run pretty fast, and it seems like this weekend will be the perfect kind of chance to do that. It'll be Iowa State, just down the road from Drake or up the road.
Yep.
And word on the street is that the Iowa State boys are trying to run pretty fast, so I guess you can just kind of plan on tucking in, running the way you like to run, tucking in, and hoping that the early pace will kind of set it up nicely for a fast time, and then in that final kind of 2, 3, 400, wherever you're feeling good, you can try and put some moves on and run something pretty quick.
Yeah, I know for a fact Jason Gomez is going to be the pacer, and he's a very, very good runner himself. And the pace is supposed to be 51 high, 52 low through 400. So it's like, hey, if I'm on that, right, like, or even a second off of it, and I'm 53, like, I'm giving myself a chance to run quick, right? So,
Definitely, yeah,
just need to go out and like get on that pace, you know. So it's
yeah,
good, and there will be some great Iowa State runners in it, as they have literally the top three 800 runners in the country right now on TFers.
yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. But so I would assume all three of them will be in it. I know I just heard that Iowa State is loading it. I don't know what loading it means, but I would assume that means they're putting their best guys in it. So
Yeah,
either way, it'll be a great opportunity to run fast, and I'm pretty hyped.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, 100%. Um, so that is exciting stuff. And then with your main event, the mile, obviously fifth last year in the final, indoor in the mile. When can we expect to see the mile debut?
So the mile debut will come a bit after that. This will be my second and last 800 of the year,
Nice.
and after this, it'll be pretty much miles. Then, going back to the roots, and the Iowa State Classic will be the opener, and then the Valentine's Day invite at Boston University will be where we really have a crack at it, and
Nice.
it'll be my first time on that track. And I don't know, Jay told me it'll be mostly pros there, not a ton of NCAA guys, but
Yeah.
hoping I can kick some of your pro buddies' asses. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see you run something pretty fast. Who knows what it will take this year to actually qualify? But yeah, who knows? After this weekend, you might have a qualifier in the 800, and then in another couple of weeks, the mile as well. So you can kind of take your pick. Hopefully, I assume you'll be picking the mile. But it would
Yep.
be kind of nice to have that freedom and get a qualifier in both, and just kind of know you have that strength and the speed for when it comes to nationals time. Speaking
That
of,
would be best case scenario.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's definitely not out of the realms of possibility, I don't think. Speaking of though, we've already seen a few pretty fast NCAA performances this year. Kai Robinson, who's from Brisbane in Australia, he's just gone absolutely mad. He's sitting at number one in the mile and the 5K right now. So based on that, I think he could rip a pretty fast 3K as well. I don't think we'll see a triple from him, but what are your thoughts on what it's going to take to qualify for nationals in the mile?
Honestly, like, yes, Kai ran really fast, but like overall, the NCAA seems a little bit slower than it was last year at this
Mm.
point.
Yeah,
Maybe. I don't know. And I just like, I don't see there being a Music City invite last year where 8 people in the same field run 356 or under.
Yeah.
But I mean, the NCAA is the NCAA. It's still hectic. I think it'll still take like 357 low, 356 high. But I
Yeah.
don't know if it'll take the 356 point, what were you, point 0.5 last
Point
year?
six.
Point
Yeah.
0.6? Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Uh,
It should be at least like point 0.3, point 0.4 seconds slower, but
mhm.
I'm not going to count on it being much slower than that. I'm not going to count on it being any slower than it was last year, to be honest, because
Yeah.
you just never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Washington invite was that just happened this last weekend was kind of the one big meet. A lot of great NCAA runners, mostly just on Washington and Stanford because their
Yeah.
schools are insane powerhouses. But
Yep.
then we had some pros there too, guys like Centro, like
Yep.
Henry Wynn was there too, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a lot of great pros. And so
Yeah.
you never really know.
Yep.
Like now's the kind of the time of year where it's really interesting to look at results at the beginning of the season because
Yeah.
you can not only see like oh like how I'm doing, but you can kind of look at how guys you see as like your competition in the NCAA are doing. Like guys
Yeah.
like Joe Wascom who won the championship last year opened a K in 2:18, which is obviously a pretty great time and
Yeah.
something that I'm looking at like, oh, like my 800 was 150. Like, could I have ran a 28-second 200 after
Into
and
that.
beat a guy like him in that?
What do you
And it's
reckon?
like, I mean, always back yourself, right? So I
Yeah.
think I could have, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's a race like I mean, you just never know, right? Like you never know until you're there. But
Yeah.
like then in the mile, like a guy like Kai Robinson going in and winning against a guy like Nathan Green, who's
Yeah.
literally was sixth in the championships last
Yeah.
year. And granted, Nathan Green was in the same scenario I was a year ago from today, like breaking that 4 minute barrier for the first time.
Yeah.
Like you
Which
know
is
what that's like.
wild. Because didn't he run
Yeah,
3:39 outdoor or something?
337.
He's run. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, breaking four. If he didn't then break four after running 3:37 is like, I think that would
yeah,
be pretty disappointing. But I mean, it's a big barrier, and it obviously, everyone's got to have a reasonable day if they want to break 4 minutes. Even as a 3:37 guy, if things don't
yeah,
go perfectly, like you might not find yourself under that 4 minute barrier. But
yeah,
yeah, it is really interesting, like you say, kind of looking at how everyone's going early in the season. Yeah, I don't think many pros have raced yet, but as you say, like Centro, his first race back, 2:22, I think, in that 1K. So probably, a solid first one back. Nothing crazy for an Olympic champion, but I mean he's, had a
jeez,
a rough time the last couple of years, I guess, really since like the
yeah,
Olympics, I think. So I think that's his first one back.
yeah.
Not
After a torn ACL, which just isn't even a running injury, I still like. I'd
yeah,
like to know how that happened in the first place. It's kind of crazy, but
yeah,
Um, I just kind of wonder, like, is the same way like your recovery from your appendicitis. I wonder how long it'll take him to get back into like centro shape. Because obviously a
yeah,
222 is solid, but I mean, when he's in like centro shape, like he's not going to be losing to any NCAA guys
yeah, yeah.
or when
It'll be
he's in that like
interesting
Olympic level.
to see how long it does take to get back to his best shape if he ever gets there. I mean, I will go out on a limb and say I don't think he'll win the 2024 Olympics, but who knows? 8 years
Yeah,
on
I don't
from
think so either.
Rio, it would be pretty impressive to see. So,
Yeah. But
yeah,
anyway, I kind of want to ask you because we've been talking about the NCAA for a while and like things that have been going on with me in the NCAA. But what is your schedule going to look like for the year? Where are you? So you're opening up in a week and a half in the 3K, and then are you going to mostly focus on the three, or are you going to do come back to the mile
yeah.
in after that?
So my plan at the moment is to run a 3K in just over a week in Boston. It's my PB at the moment is 7:51 from Iowa State, where you'll be running an 800 this weekend. That was in February 2022, around 7:51. My plan after that, it's still a little bit up in the air, but I really want to go back to England and race at the British Indoor Champs. Probably in 3K. And this year there's European indoors, and the qualifier for the 3K is 7:44 flat, which is fast. But I mean, who knows what I'll run in a week and a half, but I feel like on a perfect day, if I, I'm feeling good and I can go with the pace and like if everything goes perfectly, who knows? I might say this and then run something terrible, but hopefully, something like 7:44 is the kind of time that I don't think is like completely out of my reach. So
You can do that easy.
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it is really really quick. But if I ran that straight up, that would be a huge confidence booster. It would kind of show that all the training is really paying off and really working. It is hard to know though because we haven't done that much race pace stuff. And the other day we were doing a few 600s, and I was really kind of struggling at like 64 second pace, which is 8 flat 3K pace. So
Yeah.
but I do at the same time, I think it just takes a few of those kind of shock to the system type sessions to get that racing feeling back and just kind of get used to being in pain again. So either way, after Boston 3K, well, I honestly don't really know where I'll be straight after that. It will kind of depend on how this first race goes. If I ran the qualifier, I might then race a mile as a tune-up somewhere before British Champs. And if I didn't run it, I might try and get into another 3K and try and run it. If I'm like somehow incredibly unfit though, I might then try and run a 1500 or a mile and try and be in good shape for that. Because I can technically run both the 1500 and the 3K or choose between them at the indoor champs. So I feel like my best chance right now is in the 3K, but
Wow.
we'll see. So honestly, I have no idea where I'm gonna be, but that's kind of what's going on.
A year ago today, you were just a straight miler. Now you're on the live podcast saying that
Yeah,
your number one is the 3K, which is crazy.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like for making a GB team for European indoors, my best shot will be in the 3K. Because
Yeah.
actually, if you don't run the 7:44 qualifier, you can get in if you've run 7:50 on world ranking. So I think I'd have to break 7:50 and then like, you know, beat a few decent guys. And if I then did really well at British Champs, which again is going to be very hard, it will be a strong field. But that is kind of how my road to making a British team for the European Indoor Champs would look. But if things don't go well in this first 3K, the 1500 is also an option. I just feel like based on the training I've been doing, the 3K right now is probably where my best chance will be. But we'll see.
Yeah.
See.
Especially when you get to avoid Josh Kerr, Jake Whiteman, and Jake Hayward, and some of the best milers in the world.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean,
like all from Great Britain.
yeah, British 1500 running, Neil Gourley as well, who's Under Armour.
Yeah.
There's so many guys who have run 3:33 and faster. There's probably 6 or 7 guys from Great Britain who have run 3:33 or quicker.
Ridiculous.
Which makes it very tough. And like, don't get me wrong, even like the 5K is very strong as well. But I do feel like the 1500 is just ridiculous for
yes, just mad.
So at the moment, I feel like for indoor, the 3K, and then outdoor, we'll have to wait and see. There's no 3K at outdoor champs. Obviously, it will be 1500 probably.
Yep.
And if things are going really well in the longer stuff, like if the strength work and the double threshold days are really paying off, who knows?
Let's go.
Yeah, might find myself in a 5K at some point, but we will see about that.
Cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah.
Exactly. So
cool.
Exciting time.
Well, is there anything else? Anything else you want to talk about, or
I think we've covered most things. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Oh wait, what's the goal time for this weekend? This first 3K is that 7:44?
Yeah. Which yeah, we'll see. But 7:44. If the only way I'll be incredibly happy after this first one is if I break 7:44. If I run, I think if I don't PR, my PR is 7:51, I'll be disappointed. And if I run between 7:44 and 7:51, I'll be happy, but I'll be like a little bit, I'll have wanted more for sure. I think breaking 7:44 is like the top of what I think is like realistic and achievable right now. And it would be a European indoor qualifier. I would know that I'm really fit and I'm feeling good going into British indoor champs. If I run slower than 7:51, I'll definitely be disappointed because I feel like I'm fitter than I was running a 3K almost this time last year. I should be a little bit stronger. And then, if I'm in between 7:44 and 7:51, it will be a really good day. It will be, I'm not underestimating how hard it's going to be. It's going to be a shock to the system, but a PR would be a solid day. And then, if things go perfectly, sub 7:44 would be great. So we'll see.
Cool.
What about you?
Perfect.
800?
That's your sub 7:44 is the same thing that I feel like sub 1:48. Like if I'm seeing 1:47 afterwards, like I'm happy. It was a great day.
Yeah.
And then if I'm anywhere in the 1:48s, then it's just like, all right, like that was fine. Like it was all right, but like not like super hype, but like not mad about it. Like it was fine.
Yeah.
And then anything slower than 1:48, honestly, and I'll be like, all right, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing out here?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are both of our goal times. Obviously, we'll meet up, probably film again right after your opening race in Boston and kind of just talk about my 800, your race in Boston, and then what we're doing after that.
Yep.
And kind of just talk about the rest of the track season then. But
yeah,
honestly, we caught up on so much today. We like so much today.
Yeah.
Absolutely mad, but
it's been a good one.
Thanks for giving it a listen if you did, and we'll be back with more content soon.
Absolutely, yeah. And if anyone is still listening up to this point, let us know if you have any ideas or things you want to talk about or questions. If you have questions, that's one thing we did while we were both at Drake together. We would answer a few questions. Sometimes we got roasted on Let's Run, and we'd kind of talk about that kind of thing. So if anyone has any points or any questions or any comments that they want us to talk about, or if they have any points that they think should be mentioned, go for it. So yeah, the plan with the podcast, obviously we're back. This is our first one in a long time. I think it's probably not going to be an every single week thing, but like kind of whenever we can, which is kind of what we said from the start, I think. And hopefully that's at least, every 10 days to 2 weeks, sometimes every week. Yeah. It will be whenever we get around to it, and whenever we think that what we have to talk about is actually entertaining enough to make a podcast about. So
yeah, I mean, we're not going to come on here and talk about our, I don't know, something stupid, but whenever one of us does something somewhat significant, we'll come on here and talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully that's every week.
Hopefully we win the Olympics every single week.
Wouldn't it be nice? Good stuff. All right. It's been a pleasure. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll chat to you again soon.
Yep.